the majority of the people, I think, have a pretty good idea of what their home is valued at. Every seller I talked to, I said, so have you looked up your home on Zillow to see what that says? And 9 times out of 10, they say, well, yeah, of course I did. And they know what's going on in their neighborhood. And every seller also thinks that their home is pretty much the best home in the neighborhood, whether it is or not. and rightfully so. You want an owner to have pride in their home. However, we need to dial it down and look at, okay, what is comparable? Because then we go back to the appraiser as to, is the appraiser going to see it that way, that your home is the best? And even then, how much of it being the best is really going to surface itself as dollars in your pocket, or actual purchase value price? And is a buyer going to be willing to pay that? As we're seeing this market shift, buyers have more options, so they're not as willing to pay more for those extra options. So there's that delicate balance there.
Welcome to the Uncensored Real Estate Podcast, where nothing is off limits. If you're interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and you want to learn some of the insider secrets and uncensored truths from the true professionals in and around real estate, you've come to the right place. Now, let's buckle up for the uncensored truth about real estate and join your host, Brian Cardenas.
All right, everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Uncensored Real Estate Podcast, where nothing is off limits. Remember to subscribe and share the podcast so that we can spread our joy around the world and bring real estate knowledge to everybody around. And today we want to bring in a special guest who is spanning the globe as we speak, moving to lots of different states. Today we have Michele Robbins, and she is with Elite One Realty here in Arizona and LPT Realty in Florida, brand new. So I want to say thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So what took you out to Florida?
Well, one of my clients, actually 2 of my clients, moved out there, and I already had some other clients that had moved out there, and they actually had me, since I did staging before I listed and sold their home in Gilbert, helped them do all that. They said, well, can you come out to Florida and help us with our home to get it ready in Florida? And I said, well, sure. Obviously, they were moving into it, but they wanted to have that same look and feel, and they loved what I did when I was listing to sell their home here in Gilbert, Arizona. So I went out there. They flew me out there. We did a bunch of cool projects. It was fun. And of course, we had to stop by Disney World and a couple other beach locations, which were fun. But I definitely just fell in love with it. It is another sunshine state like Arizona, and a beautiful place to, experience.
Yeah, that's the thing, is once you go out to Florida and you kind of see what it's like, it's hard to go away from there and not want to get back.
Yeah. And I loved California for so long and had never even thought to go to Florida. And once I was there, I said, hands down, this is the place. In addition to Arizona, Arizona's home because I'm a native. And so I thought, well, what does it hurt to go and be able to have a write-off and help people and do what I love to do in 2 places that I love.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to be able to have businesses in both locations and take advantage of the tax code for everything that you can take advantage of it for.
Absolutely.
Well, that's cool. So tell me a little bit about your history. You're actually a broker owner.
Yes.
And you've been doing this for quite some time now. So kind of give us a little bit of your history.
Yes, a few years. I started... in 2001, I got my actual real estate license. Prior to that, I was an appraiser assistant and did all the classes to be an appraiser, and decided that was not my gig. It's a lot of paperwork, and I don't like paperwork. I like people, and I like helping people. And so my dad told me, he said, Michele, I think you'd be great in sales. You should be a realtor. And at first I was like, what? And then I thought, you know what? You're right. So 21 years ago, while I was in the telecommunications field in sales, I went to school on their dime and got my real estate license and started in July of 2001 at RE/MAX. And I was there for 10 years and built my career. And really, I found it astounding that I could build my career on repeat and referral business. For the most part, I did very little advertising, just getting out there and helping people in the community and getting to know a lot of people, and built it up. And now 99% of my business, after 10 years at Remax, I started Elite One Realty when the market crashed. People were not getting the care and the services, and Remax was limited. Kind of felt like my hands were tied. So I started Elite One Realty, and now I've got a couple of agents that work with me, and an assistant, and we're just helping people left and right. We love it. This is our passion. So, it's such a blessing to be able to do what you love and help people through the vehicle of real estate. One of the most stressful transactions that many people face.
Oh yeah. Lots of stress involved in real estate transactions. That's where, like, we talk about a lot, is making sure that you have good professionals on your side, because it's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Like, we're in a society now where everybody is so apt to jump on their phone for absolutely everything. And, we have people that go and do their searching online, and for homes, for realtors, for lenders, for pretty much everything. And how important do you feel it is for people? I mean, I get the research part of it, but how important is it for you to have your clients like trust the references or referrals that you give for different, service providers that are involved in the transaction?
I feel very fortunate because of the fact that most of my business is repeat or referral. So they already know how I work, or they've been referred by someone they know, like, and trust. And they say, hey, Michele, I was told that I need to use you because you're the best. And, I find that to be a huge compliment. And so people don't really question me, yet that also creates a space where I always am raising the bar and making sure that I surround myself with great resources for my clients, and tools, and services, so that way it's seamless. And then, it's just that domino effect. It keeps going.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something that you brought up initially, is that you took a bunch of classes on appraising.
Yes.
That has got to be a huge help, because I think what a lot of the public doesn't know is that when someone gets their real estate license, there's practically zero training on establishing the value of a home, right?
Yes, I was actually...
We're going to tell the truth here.
talking to my assistant about that yesterday, about all the things that she's learning about real estate that you don't learn in real estate school. I used to teach, actually, real estate classes for pre-licensees and for brokers, and 90+% of it you don't actually use. It's more of a terminology. You get a database of words that you'll hear, lingo that you'll hear, yet you really won't know. So when someone is asking you about a spuds or a binzer or a LO or different lingo, you don't learn any of these different terminologies to use in real estate classes. So really expanding upon that. Same thing with real estate appraisal. A lot of people don't have the experience of how an appraiser is going to look at the value of your home so that you price it right the first time. And so the value in having that experience is I can, without a doubt, price your home correctly, and I can also help you do those little improvements so that when you are going to go on the market, you're spending maybe very little out of pocket to get the max bang for your buck.
Yeah, and that's so important, and I think that's a thing that is amazing to me, is that there's so little training around that. Even after you get your license,
yes,
you go to a brokerage and there's still not training on how to properly value a home.
Correct.
And I mean, I did the classes as well, not as many as you probably did when I was getting my my degree, actually, because I was going into real estate and getting a finance degree. And so I learned about that. How do they value homes? How do they do adjustments? Because we get so many times where an appraisal comes in and maybe it comes in low, which obviously the last couple of years that happened, a few times.
Yeah.
And then we get either a realtor or a client. Well, why did this come in low? I had one recently where it was a condo. and they were expecting to get well above anything else that had happened in the market. And this was only like 2 months ago in that complex. And, they wanted to go 3 miles out to go find another complex, even though there was already 3 comps in the complex.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that the consumer just doesn't realize. And I think that's a really good point to have them dig into in terms of choosing the right agent for them is, what kind of knowledge level, and you don't have to be an appraiser to be a realtor, but a lot of experience learning how to value properties is really important too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It makes all of the difference because my listings sell in a timely manner versus you start and you see, because it actually becomes taboo if you have your property on the market too long because you start too high. And so there's actually graphics that you can see where your max exposure is going to be up here when you first list for the first 2 to maybe 3 weeks. And then after that, in the buyer's mindset, they're thinking, what's wrong with the property? Why hasn't it sold? If it was a great property, then it would have sold already, especially in the market that we just were experiencing recently, is if it stayed on the market for more than a week even, you were actually at a deficit. So pricing your home correctly the first time is going to be your key. And then, on the flip side of that, your buyers are looking at it and, whether they're looking at Zillow or realtor.com or whether their realtor actually set them up with a portal of homes that fit their characteristics, they're looking at it going, well, it's been on the market that long. Maybe then I can actually reduce the price or ask for more concessions or, see how motivated they are to get me to where I'm getting a better deal. So you're actually hurting yourself.
So when someone is looking to find an agent to list their home, like specifically in this market, because a year ago could have probably been anybody, but now it can't be anybody. The ability of the realtor to properly set that price, as you said, is really important. What about when someone comes in to do a listing presentation for a seller and they're telling them that they can get, this higher value than what others are doing? What kind of questions should the consumer ask that agent? Because it's appealing to the consumer. Oh, you're going to get me this, but this other person is going to get me this. Everybody wants more, but they don't really realize what the harm is of pricing it too far out of the market. Like, what kind of questions should that consumer ask that agent who seems to be coming a little high, or should they just toss them out as the outlier because they're just too high above what other people might be saying?
The majority of the people, I think, have a pretty good idea of what their home is valued at. Every seller I talked to, I said, so have you looked up your home on Zillow to see what that says? And 9 times out of 10, they say, well, yeah, of course I did. And they know what's going on in their neighborhood. And every seller also thinks that their home is pretty much the best home in the neighborhood, whether it is or not. and rightfully so. You want an owner to have pride in their home. However, we need to dial it down and look at, okay, what is comparable? Because then we go back to the appraiser as to, is the appraiser going to see it that way, that your home is the best? And even then, how much of it being the best is really going to, surface itself as dollars in your pocket, or actual purchase, value price? And is a buyer going to be willing to pay that? As we're seeing this market shift, buyers have more options, so they're not as willing to pay more for those extra options. So there's that delicate balance there. I would say that the questions, to get back to your question, the questions that someone could ask is, do you think that if we list it at XYZ price, how long do you think it's going to take to sell? That's a very fair question, because some people may not be as motivated. So they're like, hey, let's see what happens. Where you also have someone who may need to move right away. They're being relocated, or they need to sell so that they can get their kiddos in school. They've got other obligations that are going to be contingent on why they're selling in the first place. So first of all, definitely, how long do you think it's going to realistically sell if we price it at this price point. Secondly, what is this going to cost me? You've got a lot of companies out there or agents out there that are saying, oh yeah, I can list your home and sell your home, and or I'll buy your home for this price, and then I'm going to charge you this much in fees. So when you actually take and look at your net, you actually are making a lot less. And I'm actually listing a home today, which that is the case. They were offered more than what we're going to list it on the market, but I gave them the range. I pointed out, here's where we're going to need to be. And so we can truly look at the market and say, this is where we need to be so that we sell in the time frame that makes sense for this particular seller so that they can move and relocate to where they need to go for their job.
Yeah. So a couple of things that you said there, I think are important for the consumer to walk away with this from is if your prospective listing agent is not asking you about what your motivation is or why are you moving, and then I think that's probably a good indicator that that might not be the right person, because
Yeah.
like you said, there's a lot of differences between somebody that's just thinking about, hey, I'll just see what I can get, and I don't need to sell this, versus that person that truly does have a pressing need to, move and relocate.
Listening and learning what their short and long-term goals are so you can help them facilitate it, which also takes that added stress off of the shoulders.
Right. So if you have somebody that is looking to relocate to maybe a different part of the country, number one, what are you seeing like for people that are in Arizona right now? What's kind of the trend of where people are moving to if they're moving out of Arizona?
If they're moving out of Arizona, believe it or not, I actually have a form that shows me. And right now, a lot of them are moving to either Texas or Florida. Those are the two hottest locations that people are leaving Arizona for. However, if you're looking at all the states of where people are moving to, Arizona is pretty much in the top two on all the different stats that I've seen, in addition to Texas and Florida. So that's where the majority of California is moving to. You see Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Illinois, New York, and I've seen some Michigan. And then we actually have people from Texas moving also to Arizona. So you've got the Texas, not so many of the other way around. I have seen a few North Dakota lately too.
Yeah, we've actually had clients who there's a lot of North and South Dakota people that come to Arizona, but not usually the other way around.
Right. And it's usually more the winter visitors that are coming. And
Right.
Now we're seeing actual influx of long-term, primary resident occupancies.
What do you think the big draw is for Arizona in general?
Just our weather overall. We were actually talking about this yesterday about why people want to move to Arizona. And, the cost of living definitely used to be a lot lower. And so that was a huge drive for a long time. Now it's a little bit less of what I would say a good cost of living compared to what we're used to I should say. And then I would say that all the growth that's coming out here, all the companies are moving here because of all the restrictions in other states, or other issues with utilities and electric and transport. And so just there's lots of reasons to be in Arizona, plus our weather. Our weather is really good here at least 9 to 10 months out of the year. And so that's why we do have such an influx of winter visitors or people who vacation here, and all the activities, because the weather is so nice. You really just get the full ambiance of being able to live and be outdoors and do all the activities with all of our lakes and our rivers. And then an hour and a half at least you can be up in the mountains in the snow and the leaves changing. So you've got such a variety of things you can do. Plus the schools, they've really been working on having better school systems, the programs, the lifestyle. walking down downtown Gilbert or downtown Mesa, Tempe Marketplace, Scottsdale, all these cities where you can go down and have this culture and this vibe of just people being outside and enjoying and spending time and experiencing whatever it is that's important to them, and the activities, the sports, and it's just a really good conglomeration.
Yeah. And we don't see a ton of exodus out of Arizona. I mean, it's definitely a lot more people coming into the state than are leaving. What is the biggest challenges that people have when they are trying to relocate, either here or to another state?
That's an excellent question. There's so many misconceptions of relocation, and a lot of fear that I've recently actually been talking to people about is that when you're going to move here, that you're going to actually have a home to move to.
And there was a bit of a problem with that for a little while.
Well, if I'm going to move from, let's say, California, since that's the number one state that most people are moving from, to Arizona, that they're going to move here, and then where are they going to stay? Well, rental rates have gone up because there was such a shortage of homes and the market was crazy. So the thing is to really just get, first of all, pre-qualified with a qualified lender, and so that you know where you're set financially, and then working with a realtor that truly knows the area, knows your goals, listens to your needs, and then that partners with the lender to make sure that it's a seamless transition for you. And if there's hiccups that come along, that you have a realtor that actually answers their phone, a lender that answers the phone, answers those questions, or even maybe foresees some of those possible issues that could come up and helps navigate you through those, so it's a lot less of a major catastrophe when something goes sideways.
What are some of the creative strategies that you've seen people using trying to relocate? Because right now, so last year in 2020, the challenge was I can't find something. I don't want to list my house until I know I have someplace to go. Now we're kind of in a situation where there's plenty of stuff to find now, but how long is it going to take me to get my house sold? What are some of the creative things that people can look at or consider doing that might help make that transition a little bit easier? And this is probably, mostly related to financing and pricing of the home and things like that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, just really diving into the true motive as to what your reasonings are for wanting to sell. And then, if it's something that you need to upgrade or downgrade or whatever, and then how soon that timeline is prevalent for you. As far as the inventory, there definitely is more inventory. And I wouldn't say that we have a ton of inventory, because we really don't. We actually have a normalized amount of inventory versus what we were experiencing, where there was no inventory, or as soon as something would come up, it had 30 offers on it. Now, if you have say a new listing, there's, not as many people going, oh crud, let me write an offer sight unseen. So if you're going to need to sell your home to buy another home, that's where having that communication with your lender and with your agent, and facilitating that, pricing it correctly, knowing what your goal is, and then also maybe even having a backup plan, so that way, if you need to go into an Airbnb for a month, or a short-term corporate rental for a month or 2 or 3, so that you can transition and minimize the stress level on your family or your environment based on whatever the personal needs are.
Yeah, I think the thing that people should be doing is figuring out the financial part of it first, because right now may not be the ideal time to sell your house if you don't have to. If you have to, then you have to. But if you don't look at the financing part of it, then you might not know that you might have the ability to pull some of the equity out of your current house to use that to get into your next house, and then convert your existing house over into a rental that ends up covering that payment, or gets pretty darn close to it because the rental rates are so strong, depending on where you're located. I think most parts of the country still have pretty strong rental markets like we do here. But I think that's something that people should look at. If you don't have to sell, maybe don't sell right now, right?
That's an excellent suggestion. In addition to, they may have locked in at a really good interest rate, and you'll never get those 2s and 3s, probably not ever again. I'd love to say that we would, but I truly doubt seeing that happen. And if you can set yourself up with an investment property, especially with a strong rental market, knowing that you could at some point, if you needed to or wanted to, liquidate that property. But I definitely agree that that is a huge opportunity for someone to set themselves up for wealth, long-term wealth. And then I know a lot of people are fearful of doing that. So that's where having a real estate agent with experience and a lender with experience can help guide you through that process so that you are able to get into the new home that you find is a better fit for where you're wanting to be, whether it's here locally in Arizona or if you're relocating. But having that asset with that property and making sure that it's cash flowing for you so that you're not stressed out and you're able to take the appropriate amount out, but still have enough reserves so that you set yourself up for a long-term win.
Yeah. I mean, it's good if you have a buffer there, and the last couple of years in most parts of the country, I mean, most markets have seen 40 to 50% appreciation in just the last couple of years. So I actually just did a post on this the other day. It's basically dead equity. If it's sitting there and you're not using it to improve your situation, whether that's improving your house to increase its value, paying down high interest debts, credit cards, things like that, or providing the ability to take that money out and go buy the next property or go buy an investment property, it's just sitting there. It's not doing anything for you. I mean, hopefully our equity is going to keep going up, and we think that'll continue to happen, but you got to put it to work for you and turn it into something else. How do you go about having that discussion with people, whether it's an existing client or someone that you haven't worked with before, maybe introducing them to the idea of investing in real estate if they're not currently doing it?
Typically what I do is just ask a few questions as to where do you see yourself? What kind of investments are you working on? And have you thought about taking equity from your home to, build a real estate portfolio? And if they say yes to those questions, then we dive in deeper. If they say, no, I'm really not sure. And I say, well, just so you know, there are options when you are in a position that you feel like you want to look at that. I definitely would love to sit down and talk with you. Let's get a qualified lender involved to help you, understand the numbers of how to make that work and then set you up for success then.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing that you do is you have that discussion and you ask those questions. And I know for me, when we have those discussions with people, when they tell me that they haven't thought about it or, they're concerned about it or what have you, digging deeper and asking that why behind it. Because usually what I found, and I don't know if this is the same for you, is some of the fear that people have about starting that is probably not necessarily based in facts. It may be like on hearsay. I mean, do you feel like that's kind of a common thing that you hear with people?
Yeah, I think that it's also a mindset of some of the older generations as to, well, what if what if the renter doesn't pay, or what if the renter destroys? Well, when you set yourself up for success from the get-go with the professionals that know how to do this and have the experience in it, that we can show you how to make sure you have that little cushion, that leverage, so that if something were to happen, that you're protected, and then building it into those leases so that when and if something were to happen, that you've got adequate funds set aside so that there's not going to be that big trauma that you're making up in your mind is going to happen. And I know that's what a lot of people have told me is, well, I don't know if I would be able to pay for 2 mortgage payments. And I don't know if if they destroyed the carpet, if I'd be able to pay $5,000 or $10,000 to replace all the flooring, or what if, they let the pool go green and then I have to do all this extra work and it costs me all this extra money. So setting yourself up and asking those questions so that you know what your fears are and then already have a plan in motion to help buffer for that so that you set yourself up for success.
Yeah, I mean, the fear paralyzes people.
It does.
And it's usually unfounded fear. Like sometimes there's something truly legitimate,
Absolutely.
and that's where asking those questions uncovers it. But usually it's something that's, you know, either something they've made up in their head, or there is a solution that they're just not familiar with. And like you said, having a good person to back them up and help them through that process can answer a lot of those questions.
Or they've had a bad experience because they tried it before, but they didn't have the right people in place to help support them. And so I actually have a few clients like that they're like, this is a night and day difference, having someone who knows what they're doing versus someone who thinks they know what they're doing or is a part of a company that has a property management portion. So, you know, sometimes I go above and beyond to help these people so that they can set themselves up, because I see the bigger vision for them, and I want to be not just their realtor, but their realtor for life, so that anytime something real estate comes up, they always know I've got them. I've got them. Let's take it to the next level as soon as you're ready to add another property and another one, whatever your comfort level is. Yet showing what's possible makes all the difference.
I think that's really important, though, for people to understand, is that when you find the right realtor to help you through the process and the right lender, like, stick with them and don't hesitate asking questions that might not have to do with, hey, Michelle, I want to go buy a house. Like, it can be, hey, Michelle, I need, to talk to somebody about, do I put solar panels on, or, do I put a pool in, or whatever. Like, you don't mind fielding those kind of calls, do you?
Not at all. Absolutely. I actually have plenty of data, because those are very common questions. And, mostly is there a value to it? And then what's it going to cost me? And with the way things have gone up in price and all the shortages, I have actual personal experience with putting a pool in my backyard, that there's definitely things that you don't know. So having someone who has that experience, who's living it daily as a full-time realtor, a full-time lender, who this is our passion, this is what we do, so that we can help you buffer through all those things, being your guide, being your backbone. I think that everybody wants to know that they have someone who has their back, right? So that when things do go sideways, because sometimes it does. I mean, who would have thought that, the market would change like it has changed over the last 20 years? But it has. And who's been there with you, walking you through it, being your sounding board, who's been your guide, who's kept on top of all of the, intricacies of our industry. And that's where you need to put your faith and your trust in, and know that we've got you.
You want to buy a house, but high interest rates have got you down? Take the rate challenge and send us a verifiable loan estimate from another lender, and we'll beat it and pay for your appraisal up to $600. Here at Give Mortgage, being powered by U Mortgage allows us to provide you with unmatched speed and efficiency and the best rates and fees in the market, all while delivering you the concierge level service you deserve. We want you to have an experience getting a mortgage that you'll never forget, and not because you got put through a meat grinder to get it. At Give Mortgage, we give great advice, we give the best rates, and we give back to charity. Visit us at www.give-mortgage.com or call us at 480-331-4684 to schedule a free consultation to see how we can help.
So I brought up a couple of things just off the top, but you also were talking about before the type of things that you can do to your house, the improvements that you can make. Can you maybe touch on the top few things that people can do to get their house in good condition, kind of get the biggest bang for their buck? Because we see that a lot right now over the last couple of years. People didn't have to do anything. Like, you just put it on the market and it would sell. And now we're seeing people continue to do that and the property not be in great condition. And they're thinking, well, we'll just fix that with price reductions. That's usually not a good formula for success. No. So what are the few things that people can do that will get them, the biggest bang for the buck if they're thinking about selling?
Well, that's an excellent question. And I think
every once in a while I have those. So
yes,
thank you.
yes. Very good. So I'll dial it back just a moment. Is, for example, if you've got a property that that you need to kind of get it market ready, first of all, you want to make sure you have a realtor who is actually going to invest in marketing your property and looking at your property. I've seen so many people do iPhone pictures or subpar pictures. Yep. And you've seen them too. If you're a buyer or seller, you look at other properties and you go, oh, that looks like caca. And to put it nicely. And you want, since so many people are moving here from out of state, you want your home to showcase the best it possibly can, especially digitally, because nobody's going to want to come in to see your home if you've got these nasty looking pictures where, the toilet seats are up and there's stuff all over the counters, or they're blurry pictures, or you've got mismatched color, just super distracting. It really takes your eye away from what the home really offers. And so then I'll go forward to what you need for getting your home really ready. Obviously, curb appeal, taking a little bit of time and cleaning up your landscaping front and back, even if that means sweeping off your front patio. Maybe you got some cobwebs. I mean, we're coming into spider season, I know. But cleaning up the entry so that when people come up to the door even, or drive up to the house, they don't go, ooh, that looks horrible, I don't even want to see inside. Really makes a difference. Then when you walk in the door, you want it to be warm and inviting. And so simple things that can be done that help make a home come across as fresh, warm, and inviting, and even move-in ready, is paint. Paint is the number one. Declutter. I actually offer free paint and free boxes for all of my sellers, and even sometimes for my buyers that might need to spruce up a home. And
free paint?
I do. Yes, I do.
Wow.
It has been harder to get though lately because of the fact that my source has limited supply, just like pretty much everybody has limited supplies, right. Especially of the higher quality paints, but I still have access to those. And then the one thing that I'm working on right now with one of my sellers is flooring. And I actually have certain vendors of mine that are set up in place that they'll wait for payment and put the flooring in and then bill it to escrow, so that way you don't have a big chunk of money to put down, say $10,000 in new flooring, but you want to get the maximum for your home. You might want to invest in getting the new flooring and bill it to escrow. So I have a relationship with that, and they don't mark up their prices. Also, that's the other thing that people are like, well, are they going to mark up their prices just so that they, have that convenience? Well, not my vendor that I work with, and it's a family-owned business, and I love working with family-owned businesses to help support local. And so they'll come in and seamlessly make, not so nice carpet, linoleum, tile, and spruce it up. And that makes it so that a buyer can see themselves there versus having to go, well, it's got this flooring here, this contractor special flooring over there. It's got, pink carpet in this room and brown carpet in this room. And believe it, I've seen it all. And just, making it a warm and welcoming place. And then I love to take very busy curtains or towels or different things and kind of neutralize them. And so that way it doesn't take your eye from seeing the whole home, but making it more warm and inviting.
So do you do that? Do you do a full staging of properties then, or?
I do a partial staging. I don't do the full bring in furniture. I can always resource someone who wants to have all the furniture put in, but I do the light staging, and I use a lot of times what my clients have in their home, and then sometimes I'll bring in some extra things that I know that will help, and I do that. And then what I do with those items is I give my seller the option to purchase the items from me, or I donate them to UMOM, which is a domestic violence organization here locally.
Yeah.
So that way it's, one, it's a write-off for me, but also it, does the ultimate goal of providing that ambiance.
Yeah. I think that's the things that are really important for people to hear is you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And it starts digitally, like you said. Yeah, I just made that up. Never heard that before.
Never.
You have to appear really nice in the pictures. Because if they don't look good in the pictures, which is the way everyone's going to see it first, they're not coming to the house. And then when they get to the house, if the curb appeal is not nice or it's not neat as they walk in, they're going to turn around, not walk in. And then when they walk in, if the walls are some, weird color, the carpet's dirty, all those things that really catch people's eye right off the bat are not in tip-top shape. You always have to look at it from the standpoint of not what do you like, but what does my competition have out there? Because you're competing for those buyers now. It's not a situation where as long as you just stick it on the market, it's going to go. So you have to check out what that competition looks like, and you've got to bring your property as much up to meet that competition as possible if you expect to get the house sold these days.
Or exceed it.
Yeah. And the thing that you do that's really different is that you have vendors locally that will do individual pieces of that work and bill it to closing. Because there's companies out there where if you might need full redo the kitchens and bathrooms, there's companies out there that will kind of package it all together and then basically collect out a closing or put a lien on your current house, and they just get paid when you sell the property. But it's really cool that you have some local contractors that it will do the flooring and stuff like that. Did it take a long time to come up with companies that would do that and wait to get paid?
I'm constantly talking to people and asking, hey, the worst someone can say is no. And then I built those relationships and so they actually know that whenever I list a home, obviously I'm going to list it and price it right. And I know what I'm doing, and they always get paid. And so.
Yeah, that's good. So if somebody, we talked about some of the things that people can ask about if they're looking for a listing agent. If you're just talking to somebody that's maybe a first-time buyer, what are some things that the first-time buyer can do to try to figure out who's the right agent to work with?
First of all, it's going to go back to getting your financing in order, talking to your qualified lender, and seeing what kind of programs are available for you. Then as far as picking an agent, I always say if you don't have an agent or you don't know of someone that comes highly recommended, because why reinvent the wheel? Why go and just Google, realtors in Gilbert, Arizona, or realtors in Phoenix, Arizona?
There's only one that comes up when you do that, though.
And a lot of those are just paid ads on those sites. If you know people who've had excellent experiences, why not use those? And that's how I've kept my business going for all this time, is just repeat and referral. However, if you don't know of anybody, you're new, or you don't want to, infringe on, and I see that sometimes where people don't want their family members or their friends to know what they're doing. So they decide that they're going to go out on their own and try to find a realtor. First questions you should ask is, what do you do for your clients? How do you work? And how much experience do you have? And if something goes wrong, how do you handle it? Because something could go wrong and you don't want to find out when it's too late how someone handles it. And then the most important thing, test them. Do you answer your phone, and do you get return calls in a timely manner? That is the key component for keeping your peace of mind through your transaction, is knowing that your agent is there and answering your questions. Now, your agent may not be able to answer the phone 24/7 because they're working for you. They're out there doing their business and they're working for you. However, if you know that person is always getting back to you, they're texting, they're calling, they're staying in communication with you on a regular basis, whether it's good news or bad news, or even just answering. I actually get business just because I answer my phone. And then there's times where I don't answer my phone with all the spam calls. If it says potential spam, we all get it. And it's like, how many times do I need to renew my auto warranty? Or, pay off my student debt. I don't have any student debt anymore. I've already paid it off, all those different things. So if I don't recognize a number, sometimes I don't answer, but I will for sure get back to someone if they leave a message or they send me a text, just to make sure when, you're not quite sure and you're in the middle of something, and then you get back to it and you take care of your people.
Yeah, that's something that's changed over the last few years, is the spamming of everyone's phones. I mean, we all used to. We don't recognize the number, we pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 95% of the time, it's some kind of telemarketer. So, I mean, I've done the same thing. Like, if I don't recognize it, I'm probably not answering it the first time. But as long as you shoot a text over or leave a message, and call right back,
Absolutely.
I don't want to get another car warranty.
Don't need another one.
I'm tired.
But then, I also think that it's important to realize that when I am with someone, for example, like our time right now, my time is here with you. I'm going to pay attention. Now, when we met just last week, and I had a doctor thing, and I let people know, hey, I've got this going on, but otherwise my time with you is my time with you, and I'm going to give that same time and commitment to each and every person. However, as soon as I'm done, I'm going to make sure that I take care of everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, we're all people manner. Like, we have other clients that we work with, we have family, we have personal things, what have you, but the attentiveness to the clients is important, because it really shouldn't take a day to call somebody back. I mean,
in most cases, no.
If it's a couple of hours, great, no big deal. But, if you're not getting return calls in a reasonable amount of time, then that person just may not have the same level of expectations for the service that they need to deliver as you do. And I think that's a good indication. I think it's some of the things you said there were really good, as far as how does somebody find the right person is test them, and I think that's really, really good advice. So one last thing I want to ask you before we finish up, if you had just to pick one main thing that you think is something that either buyers or sellers just don't understand about real estate, what would you say is that most important thing that they don't understand that they really do need to understand?
Most people right now are fearful of the rates. And I know you see it too. They're fearful. Oh gosh, the rates are so high. And people really don't buy off of rates. They buy off of payment. And it's about what you can afford, and that you can afford responsibly. And if we can figure out a way to set you up, and I hate that term, what is it? Date the rate and marry the home, or something like that. I've heard that too many times. But to truly see if this is a smart and wise time for you to buy, how you buy, look at the bigger picture, not just what the rate is, because there are other opportunities. Sometimes there's ways to buy down the rate, and maybe that's not even the right option for you. Maybe it's better for you to pay the higher rate and then do something else with what money you have. There's so many different ways to set yourself up for success, and that's where putting that trust into your lender and your realtor, so that you really understand the full picture of how a rate and how a home can help leverage you for success, short and long term.
Yeah, I think that's good advice, because people do get fearful and they kind of get paralyzed. That usually happens with fear, whatever it is you get stuck and you just stop and you don't take action, and you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. And I think right now it's a perfect example of it, because rates are higher than they've been in a very long time. They're not terrible in, the grand scheme of things, but they are higher than they have been for a while. And so what's happened is a lot of buyers have dropped out of the market. Mm-hmm. So those people who are buyers right now have an opportunity like they haven't had in many years to go pick a property that they actually like, and not settle for something because it was the only one that came available that they got an offer accepted on, and then go fix the rate later. Like, you can do a buy down, you can do all those things. We can talk about all that for the time being, but if you can get in something that you can't afford responsibly, to your point, you're not going to be with that forever. Like, there's going to be a chance in the probably pretty near future to readjust the interest rate, look at refinancing, and get yourself into a better situation. And while that's all happening, your value in your home is growing. And if you're having to go buy, sell a house that's at a 3% rate and go buy a house at a 6% rate, well, you're probably getting a pretty good deal on that house that you're buying now, even if you are not quite getting what you thought you were going to get. So I think, that message is really good. Just don't be fearful and make it, cause you to stop taking action. Like, go seek advice, go seek the right professionals that can help you move forward.
Absolutely. And then, also going back to looking at your short and long-term goals, maybe you hold on to that home for 2 years and your equity has gone up, and whether you refinance it or rent it out, maybe that area is going to go up tremendously. There's so many different factors that just the rate alone does not give you an indication of what your value is going to be on the home. Let's look at the bigger picture and let's set you up for ultimate success.
Right. I think that's good advice. So if somebody's been listening to us today and they think that, hey, Michele is the person that I need to talk to here, give us your contact information.
Okay. Michele Robbins, the Queen of Keys. I'm Mrs. Real Estate in Arizona and in Florida, Elite One Realty. My phone number personally is 480-580-7700. You can find us online at www.elite1realty, and one is spelled out, O-N-E, elite1realty.com. And then we are also now in Florida in the greater Tampa Bay area, including Clearwater, Dunedin, and Palm Harbor. And we are with LPT Realty. So look us up, give us a call. We'd be happy to help.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time and joining us here today. I think we shared a lot of good information with people. So Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, as always.
All right. I appreciate you guys joining us today on the Uncensored Real Estate Podcast. Again, make sure that you subscribe and like and share this out so that we can get more of this great information out to your friends, your family, whoever needs information on real estate. And look forward to joining you guys again next week. Take care. Talk to you later.
Thanks for joining us, and please remember to go and subscribe, like, share, all that cool stuff to help us grow, and come back to listen to our next episode. Until then, go out and live life uncensored.
Thanks for listening to the Uncensored Real Estate Podcast. Don't forget to help us out and subscribe. Follow and give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast platform. And check us out on YouTube for the full video podcast. If you want more information on any of the topics discussed on today's episode, email us at uncensoredrealestatepodcast@gmail.com or give the Cardenas Mortgage Team a call at 480-331-4684.